Welcome back. It's Smokin' and Toastin'. This is the radio program that's all about craft beer, fine spirits, and hand-rolled cigars, and today about wine as well. We're brought to you by B&B Butchers and Restaurant, 1814 Washington Ave in Houston, and in the shops at Clear Fork in Fort Worth, and just opened the Annie Cafe and Bar on Post Oak in Houston. I have not been since they reopened,
it's really
but
beautiful.
I can't wait to go and see. I understand they've retained a lot of the original menu, and maybe, you know...
Have you had a chance to go there?
Yeah,
just a little bit?
it's stunning. It's
Yeah.
They've done a really beautiful job with it.
It's really one of the, premier restaurants in Texas historically. So it's great to see it continuing on and them doing good things with it. So, all right, the makers of a South African gin infused with elephant dung swear that this is no gimmick. They say that they stumbled across the idea about a year ago after learning that elephants eat a variety of fruits and flowers and yet digest less than a third of it. Yep. It's called Indlovu Gin, and Les and Paula Ansley are the creators of it. They say as a consequence, because of the digestive part of this, in the elephant dung, you get the most amazing variety of these botanicals. Why don't we let the elephants do the hard work of collecting all the botanicals, and we'll make gin from it, he recalled his wife asking.
Mercy.
The idea came after a safari in which a wildlife ranger described the elephant's digestive process. Weeks later, he said his wife woke him up in the middle of the night with the inspiration about using elephant dung to infuse their gin. He said, okay, let's give this a bash. Let's see how it works out. The first batch of elephant dung arrived by mail from the park where they'd taken their safari, and then the couple, who are both scientists, by the way, puzzled for a while, which I'm sure they did, before they figured out the gin-making process. Now they collect the dung themselves. You can't make this shit up, and I do mean shit. Now they collect the dung themselves using their bare hands. I'm going to read one more line here. They describe the gin's flavor as lovely, wooded, almost spicy, and earthy, and one that changes subtly with the seasons and location. Okay, that's as far as I can go with that. Would you even try it? I mean,
I'm going to find this and I'll bring it.
They decided to name it.
Hey, Cruz, would you pass me some of that elephant butt gin?
They decided to name it Indlovu, Indlovu, which means elephant in Zulu. Mm-hmm.
Okay.
They did not say how much of the gin they have sold. A bottle sells for around 500 Rand, which is about $32.
Yeah.
So there you go. It's often a hit with tourists seeking a unique souvenir and a story to tell when they return home. No word on whether people are making elephant dung martinis.
I really...
How would you garnish that?
With pretty much anything. Yeah. Maybe you wouldn't have to.
little tough to sawgrass.
Oh, man. Okay. All right. Now I feel like we need a palate cleanser before we even start the wine tasting. All I'm just going to say is you can't make this dung up.
Nope.
You really can't. You really can't. So,
Man, look how beautifully dark and purple that is.
So
isn't that fun?
It is, but see, this strikes me almost in appearance more like a Pinot Noir than.
You're really close.
Really?
Close. Okay. And here's why. If you travel on the eastern side of France and you go from the north to the south, you start in Champagne. I'll get to that in a bit. But then you come down into Burgundy, where they grow Pinot Noir and Chardonnay almost exclusively.
Right.
Just beyond Burgundy, in fact, most people would consider it in Burgundy, is where you get Beaujolais. And that's what we have here today. So Pinot, classic pairing with turkey dressing. It's what everybody brings to the table on Thanksgiving. I decided to go a little further south and go Beaujolais.
So is Beaujolais a little spicier?
Beaujolais can be a little spicier. It can be a little earthier.
It's got a little more meaty kind of.
Yeah, it depends on kind of where in
mouthfeel.
Beaujolais this comes from. I brought this for a couple different reasons. First of all, it is beautiful with your holiday meal. Secondly, next week is Beaujolais Day. On the third Thursday of every November is where they release the barely fermented juice that's called Beaujolais Nouveau, and it's meant to be a barometer of how that vintage will be. That's the whole point of Beaujolais Nouveau.
When we see the Nouveau come out, is that what it generally is Beaujolais?
Yes, that's what it is. Beaujolais Nouveau is just, and it may have only been fermenting for 6 weeks or so. I mean,
I've had some of that in the past, and it's been quite good.
It's great, but it's ready right now, and you don't keep it, and you don't save it, and you drink it right away, and then that's that. What I wanted to do was show you not only what Beaujolais is like as it ages, but when it's meant to age, and from specific villages within Beaujolais. This one comes from Moulin-A-Vent. A couple of years old, 2016. Here, all red in Beaujolais is Gamay. That's the name of the grape. So instead of Pinot Noir, it's Gamay. And Gamay and Pinot are very closely related. And that's why you thought that this might have been Pinot. But good job, by the way.
It has some Pinot characteristics, but it strikes me as being a bit more full and spicier in a very good way.
Am I off on this? Is Pinot usually a little more peppery?
You often get a kind of a cherry cola.
Oh, okay.
Note in Pinot, depending on where it's from, but specifically Burgundian Pinot. You do get some sort of some black pepper. You get some currants.
But as a red, though, this is still much like a Pinot in that it's on the lighter side of the red spectrum.
It's a little heavier than light body, but yes, it is.
And isn't that one of the reasons that Pinot Noir is as popular as it is? Because it's a red that people can have, but you can still maybe be more likely to enjoy it with things that are more traditionally assumed to be something you'd pair white wine with, right?
Sure. I think you can pair Pinot with anything,
right?
Or Gamay or Beaujolais for that matter,
right?
With anything,
because this has that feel to it that this would be okay with chicken or fish, or that it would
absolutely, especially really barbecued.
Yeah. Oh yeah. Like you got that sort of grill taste.
Yeah, you bet. This would be great with that. With fish,
but I could have this with a steak too. It'd be just fine.
Yep, no problem.
Yeah,
no problem with the lighter sauce.
A real creamy blue cheese.
Oh yes, I like that idea.
That's there are really good blue cheeses that come from this part of France, and so there's no problem with that. Also truffles is a good. Is a good area. So you're just north of the Rhone Valley, where a lot of the truffles come from, and in France, in the southern in France, and so there's that anything with truffles, like good pasta.
And this again has that delicious sort of like I want another sip on the front of the tongue vibe to it.
It's all part of my evil plan.
Yeah, it really it's working. I tell you, it's working. How often do you guys do pairing dinners at the Rainbow Lodge?
So there's two different ways I can answer that question. I can say every night. Every day, the chef comes up with a tasting menu where we offer a pairing, a beverage pairing of some sort. It's typically wine, but we can do things like cocktails or beer as well. And so, yes, every night I pair wine with.
And so that's something different in every night's menu.
Yeah,
right?
and it just depends on what Chef Marc has found. Perhaps he's found a really great piece of fish that he doesn't have enough to serve as a special, but he can serve it as on the tasting menu. Or maybe he's playing with a new recipe, and that might make the menu in a few weeks, and he's just wants to kind of whittle it down. That could be on the tasting menu, and so that's a really great way to. I love a good tasting menu. I was in France. That's why I missed the big shindig last week. My apologies. Yes. But I was in France last week with some customers, and every night we had a tasting menu, and it was more along the lines of, ooh, let's see what they have, and let's taste new things, and what is the chef working on? And that's kind of the point of the tasting menu. We also do specific wine dinners. I do about 8 of them a year.
Right.
A few of them in the spring, a few of them in the fall. And where we get a principal or a winemaker or someone from the importer to come in and present the wines to an audience. Sometimes it's as little as 20, sometimes it's as much as 60 people. And the chef pairs a specific dinner with those specific wines. So the chef and I will sit down together and taste the wines.
So you have to work very closely with the chef.
Absolutely.
And I'm assuming you also know your standard menu very well.
Oh, yeah.
That way when someone completely ignorant about wine like me walks in and goes, Mark, can you please help me? Because my wife is right now in a restroom, and I need to look like I know what I'm doing with wine.
Yeah, and that's part of the job. There's a stigma about wine professionals and sommeliers. Where they don't want to, they just want me to spend a lot of money, and that's not at all the case. What I want you to do is drink well. I want you to, and it doesn't have to be expensive. And I put little tricks so that you don't have to look like a schmo. That you can just order by number.
Yeah.
Where we have it in the cellar, you can say, "Oh, I'd like 9035." No problem. We'll be happy to get that.
That way, you don't have to try to pronounce all that French.
You don't have to try to pronounce it. You don't have to divulge what the wine costs if you're wanting to splurge or not splurge.
Not splurge, yeah, sure.
And oftentimes I'll just come over and just say, "Hey, I'm here to help, man.
Yeah,
let's have some fun."
You know, on the first show where you came in, you brought a number of wines, and we enjoyed them tremendously. And you brought intentionally all very affordable wines. I don't think you brought a bottle that was over $50.
That's right.
At your
restaurant price, yeah, exactly,
$50, which I thought was just outstanding and a lot of fun on top of that.
And I can tell you from going back in and ordering the sparkling wine that you had, that was the one from the UK.
Mm-hmm. The Ridgeview, yeah.
That was so good with the meal that I had. Oh my God, it was fantastic. Like, let me ask you this question about pairings with wine. When you do the whiskey sniff, you light the cigar, you get the cigar on your palate, and then you go and you sniff the whiskeys to see which one seems like it would match the best. Is there a right or a wrong way to pair wine and food? In other words, are you better off to start with the wine, or are you better off to start with the food, or does it matter?
I think they complement each other so well that no, I don't think it does matter. You know, and when we do the chef's tasting every night, the wine is paired with the food. Mm-hmm. But if you come to a wine dinner, then it's backwards. The food is actually paired.
But the wine is
with the wine. The wine's the start of the show,
and then the chef comes up with an appropriate menu for that.
Yeah. And so I think it just depends. If you're, and it's just the kind of fun you want to have. You come in and you're just like, Mark, we really want to drink well. We're thinking about this bottle. What do you think? Okay, great. Now what should we have? That happens occasionally, but I work at a restaurant that serves food, and that's
usually people
the
are
point
thinking
of it.
their food first. And
so
going, what I order to go with this?
Oftentimes people will just come in and say, Mark, I'm having the antelope or the elk or the buffalo. What do you think goes really great with this? And I'm one of those people that believe you should drink what you like, and if it doesn't really go well with it, big deal.
Now,
you're enjoying yourself, you're having a great time, do your thing.
Yeah,
so
if
there
it doesn't
are those
go
people.
well on paper, you mean,
right.
so to speak.
Yeah, right. So it's a big deal. You want to come in and have that big Napa producer that your father drank. It's fine. I've got it. I'm happy to sell it to you. But if you want to ask me about what really pairs well and what goes great, I'm happy to have that conversation with you.
It seems to me that the things that you've discovered along the way are the wonderful little things that someone like me would never stumble across, right? So this is why I'm like, "What? Please, Mark, what do you recommend?" You know what I mean?
Do you have? I'm sorry. Do you have, like, for instance, if I come in and order a specific appetizer, do you have like a favorite appetizer and wine combination that you've stumbled across, or maybe even experimented with over the years that you go, you know what? If you have no idea what you're going to get this appetizer and this wine.
I used to do that. But and we have staples. We have things that we have all the time, but for the most part, the menu changes so frequently, and as does my wine list.
Right.
And so there are things that pop on and off, and things that I can't get anymore, and things that are just a really great deal.
Well, and I guess wine from year to year changes as well.
It can. Yeah. I mean, there's a good number of producers, especially the big names, who want that sense of that
consistency.
It stays the same, right? It's consistent every year after year.
Well, I will say this: if you go to the Rainbow Lodge, you've ordered your meal and you ask Mark what will go with it, and he recommends a gin that is infused with elephant dung, I would maybe seek a second opinion. That's all.
Raise an eyebrow on that one.
Yeah, I would just seek.
I'm charging $50 a glass for that.
Although I will say the gin drink that you had us, the aged gin.
Oh my goodness, that was terrific.
That we had last time. What was the name of that drink?
That was the very old fashioned.
That was
the very.
Oh, that's right. It was an old fashioned with that gin. It was
English fashioned.
Yeah, but let's be clear. there was no dung involved.
There was no dung. And by the way, that was Texas gin. By the way,
Yes.
So there we go.
I love that. All right, let's take a quick break. We're going to come when we come back in our final segment. We're not only going to taste some champagne, but we're also going to taste some tequila. So we promised to tie Mark down and force feed him tequila before he leaves.
No, okay.
So we'll be back at Smoking and Toasting. Thank you for being here for show number 163.
This is delicious.
Isn't that fun?